Hey everybody, I am Erica Carlson with BRIX Real Estate. I'm a Twin Cities Realtor, and I am going to bring you market data that will be helpful whether you're thinking about buying a house, you're a homeowner, and if you're a homeowner, it could be helpful whether you're thinking about selling or not. And then if you stick with me, I'm going to go really quickly through this data today. I am going to talk more about what to do when you need to sell your house before you buy a house. I think that this information is profoundly important because there's so many of us that are going to need to do that. Now, if you're renting or something like that, maybe that part of the video you can skip, but hopefully you'll find this first part interesting. As your eyes are going across the screen, you may be noticing the numbers are not changing that much. Our actives, our coming soons are staying about the same. Pendings have only gone down by 2, and then our closings went up by 10. So in Wright County, we're not, things are not changing that much for us. And so when we look at showing activity and we're looking at that August 23rd column, yes, there was a slight pickup over last week. We were at 2.6, we're at 3.2 now for Wright County. This just isn't like somebody who's selling their house right now, they're not going to feel that. And buyers, you should know that the competition is quite low, which is very predictable. We're mid to late August now, state fairs around the corner, Labor Day's around the corner. A lot of people that were house shopping are kind of tuning it back in preparation possibly for the school year or just, activities that are going on in their life. This is very, very normal. And then as you're looking at Hennepin County, it's just pretty much the same as last week. And so that really puts us in like a very, it is a seller's market, but it is more equal, like in terms of kind of more of a balanced market right now. When we hit that 4 number, we're definitely just feeling that slowing a little bit. And that doesn't mean the sky's falling or anything like that. It just means that if you're selling a house in Wright, you would expect, about 3 showings a week. That's very average, and same in 4 would be average for Hennepin. And then days on market, we saw a little bit of an uptick over last week. Like I told you before, I'm doing the data there a little bit differently so that we're getting a better idea of what our true numbers are, because so many times people are telling me, they think something is a lot and it's not a lot. We are used to houses selling in a weekend. That doesn't mean a house sitting on the market for 30 days, as you can see, is a lot. It's average. So some houses are sitting a lot longer than a month, and that is okay too. And then just breezing over this, because I've already mentioned it, we're really at sort of a balanced market. I mean, if I was going to pick one, I'd still say it's more of a seller's market. We are seeing multiple offers on properties. And all of that is very much a reality. So I'm going to kind of shift. I'm going to shift gears now, and I want to talk to people who have a house to sell before they have a house to buy. And I hope that you find this information really helpful. So now we're going to shift gears, and I'm going to use this opportunity to talk to people that would like to buy a new house, but they have a house to sell. And I'm going to give you some strategies in this next segment to help you get your head around how you could approach this. So one of the biggest topics that people have, because you're either a renter or you're a house seller, and there's just a very, minor portion of people that might be moving from like a family member or something where there is no timeline, but most of us have a timeline. So when it's rentals, that's a slightly different topic. Short answer is you want to move to month rental if you can. Otherwise, you kind of keep getting stuck in a rental cycle. When you have a house to sell, it feels a lot more daunting. We don't know how much the house is going to sell for. We don't know how long it's going to take. And a lot of us don't know where to begin. And I'm going to make this really simple. In my humble opinion, you're picking up the phone and you're talking to your favorite real estate agent, and you're talking to your favorite loan officer. If you need any recommendations for our area in terms of loan officers, I'm happy to send you a few names of people that I think that you can trust. And I would always recommend talking to a handful of people in a few weeks to decide who's the best fit for you. You are going to work with this person pretty intensely. And it's not so much that everybody has these, radically different programs. It's more you need to find somebody that also or just say more, somebody that you definitely vibe with and want to see yourself working with. And of course, you can go deeper than that. Side note, I do have a sheet I like to share with my buyers that help you ask questions so you can feel more confident about that conversation. So let's fast forward through that. If you have a house to sell, you cannot be presumptuous that you know what your interest rate is, how much your house is going to sell for, any like details that have happened over the years. I mean, you still need to reach out to that loan officer and figure out what your budget is and what type of loan you're going to use. And another question you need to ask is, can I handle 2 mortgages? Now, the first part, you might say, I just don't want to. Okay, that's simple. But there's a lot of people I talk to that are very concerned about homelessness. And I don't mean it in the classic way. I just mean like they don't want to be without a home. Literally, maybe they don't want to live in a hotel, or they don't want to ask a friend to bunk up with for a short period. They have animals, maybe they have small kids, whatever our scenario is. It's hard to ask other people to let us move in, right? So our first question to that loan officer is, can I have 2 mortgages, and what are the costs associated? There is no free money. And so what is it going to cost me if I have 2 loans at the same time? And so after those questions are asked, then the realtor should be able to help you strategize a plan that works for you. And as I've mentioned in other videos, the answer here is not to start looking at houses first. You do need to know your budget. You know, whether it's pulling the cash or the equity out of your house to make that purchase, whether it's getting that second loan, we need those answers to successfully house shop. And there's no reason to look at houses just for funsies. If that is the situation, then I would stick to open houses and, you know, maybe not reach out to somebody to do a private showing, as that implies a seriousness level that you may not be ready for at that point. So here's some ideas for you. Most of you will automatically think, I will write the offer subject or contingent to my house selling. And that's a strategy. It's not I'm not sure in this current market that it's the best strategy, especially if your house is nowhere near ready for showings and pictures. That would not be my recommendation, because if you ask the seller for a week, 2, 3, 4 weeks to get your house ready for the market while theirs is sitting on the market, you will easily choose another person's offer. You are not coming at strength when you say, hey, I want to buy your house, but can you wait for me? And I think that's lost on a lot of people. They don't understand what the problem is. However, I think if you put yourself in the other person's shoes, most of us would not be in a situation where we could wait a few weeks for another party to pull it together. So sometimes what I tell people to do is, if that's ultimately the strategy they want to go with, what can you do in preparation that you find the one? Could you get the pictures done? Can you start packing? Can you start doing repairs? And there's like a lot of city-wide or a county-wide requirements for, like, if you have a septic, you might need to get the POS done, things like that. So even if you want to do this method, and I'm not here to talk you out of that, it will not be a strong offer if it goes into multiples, which often houses do. And you could at least do things to get in preparation that is with strength. So for example, I'm sending you this offer, and I can literally list my house tomorrow if you say yes to us. The last thing I want to mention to you, and a lot of people don't understand this, is this contingency has kind of like a bump in it, meaning that if they get another offer that is stronger, better, whatever they perceive, they don't really need to give you an excuse. They can bump you at any time for any reason. They don't have to give you logic behind it. So you could be doing all this frantic work to get your house ready for the market, and you come to find out a week later they bumped you because a cash offer came in, or they didn't need to sell their house, something like that. So I do have a bunch of other ideas. I'll try to go through these a little bit faster for you, though I am warning you if this is on the longer side. So the next idea I have for you that I know a lot of people don't choose, but it is the most stress-free, which is to put your house on the market, rent something, and then buy a house. And I know the con or the negative thing here is that you're going to have to move twice, maybe put things in storage, things like that, which I understand that's not ideal. However, what people underestimate about this strategy is that it is removing so much stress, in the sense that now I'm not relying on like the mystery of, well, what is my house going to sell for and how much? Because my last thing that I talked to you about comes with a lot of mystery. I could write that offer contingent on my house selling and find out I'm not going to make as much on the sale. So maybe I actually got myself in a situation where I'm buying more house than I can afford. Maybe it doesn't sell as quickly. Again, I'm getting bumped, or whatever. So long story short, it is an option. It's one worth considering. I highly recommend it if you're changing like major geographical areas, like moving out of state, and you're not very familiar with an area. Why not just hold off a little bit on making that purchase decision? Because you are going to live in a house longer than a rental, and that gives you time to explore the city, see what you like and don't like about certain neighborhoods before you put roots in. And again, I know a lot of people don't want to do it. They just want to own the house. They're done with renting. I get it. Renting isn't always very appealing, but it may save you in the long run. You may get a better offer because you were able to take your time, get the house ready to its best looking appearances, etc., etc. All right, the next one, this is my favorite, and I talk to people about this all the time because it's not intuitive, but we can rent our houses back to people. So for example, we put the house on the market, and that buys us time to shop. And then when we get an offer, that buys us time to shop, because we're going to ask that buyer for a longer closing date, which we have all the ability to do. We can ask for whatever we want. We are the seller, as long as it's, within reason, of course. So let's say you ask for a 60-day closing. That would give you 30 days to house shop, in addition to whatever you did before that. Another 30 days to close, that's 60 days right there. And if that's not enough time, what if you had a rent back agreement where you ask the buyer to rent you the house back? A lot of times people can do this. They're in a situation where they might be more flexible than you are, and this might buy you a little bit more time to find that house. And again, maybe the worst case scenario is even after all that, you can't find something, then you could just rent short term or live with somebody. So this is just another strategy to have. I'm shocked more people do not ask for rent back agreements. On the negative, let's talk about that. They can get complicated, right? Like I'm choosing my words here. That's why I'm thinking about this a little bit. Could things get sticky? Absolutely. I think the buyer is taking a lot more risk than the seller. And so there's not going to be, everybody's not going to sign up for this. You could say, this is what I want as a seller. A buyer may come back and say, I can't, or I'm actually not comfortable with what you're asking. I have no interest in being your landlord. I don't want the risks associated to that. Now, on the buyer side, if you're presented with this at some point in your shopping experience, you address the things you're concerned about and put those in the contract. So let's say they had a lot of carpet and they had pets and you were worried they were going to leave the carpets dirty, then write something in the lease back agreement that says, carpets need to be professionally cleaned before my move-in date, or whatever. Yes, they could be dicier, but from a strategic point of view, if you are serious about buying a house, this is an excellent way to buy you time to house shop and not necessarily have it everything figured out the day you list. And the people that have worked with me on this strategy have been extremely successful. We've actually made a lot of money on the sale, which then adjust their price point, because now it's not a mystery anymore. They know exactly what their house is selling for, and then they can take that and now maybe buy more house than they were anticipating when we first initially were talking to each other. Real quick, you can write a contingency as a seller that I'm not going to sell you this house unless I find one. That is a strategy. It's not my favorite one because again, you're going to scare away some buyers who are like, what's going on here? Most buyers are going to come back and say, sure, you can do that, but you have 2 weeks. So it's not buying you that much time to find a house. Whereas my rent back strategy is going to buy you months of time. The contingency might buy you weeks of time, which, may not be enough. And again, we could use that to our advantage as sellers. So it's definitely not something I'd want you to cross off your list. It's kind of more my preference of an option 2 if the rent back was really unappealing to somebody. And then lastly, I want to talk to you about alternative lending. They don't do a lot of like big national advertising about these resources, and there are some local lenders that we could tie into and explore. There are these kind of like buy before you sell programs. The pro is that when you write an offer on a house, you no longer have to tell people you have to sell a house, because the pre-approval letter, I actually haven't seen it, but I think it just doesn't, the lender isn't requiring that house to be sold. Some of these programs will even give you money to get the house kind of fixed up before the house sale to maximize your dollar as well. I won't go too deep into that component, but there's a couple of these programs out there, and some of your local lenders also have these programs. You just have to ask them about it. They're just not employed very much. The reason why is because they come with a cost. And so while you now basically are helping you look more like a traditional finance deal with no contingency, the downside is that you are going to pay something. Again, there's no free lending of money. So what are you going to pay for this service? And the problem there will be that it's very expensive compared to some of my other ideas. So if you're looking to do this most cost efficiently, I'd recommend something else we've talked about. If the money piece isn't as big of a deal to you and the convenience factor is trumping the money factor, then these alternative lenders that I can refer you to. And when I say alternative, I don't mean like scary or weird or anything like that. When I say alternative, it just means like not everybody's taking this route. This is the route less traveled. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, again, it's just a little bit more expensive. So I'm Erica Carlson. My website's iHeartMPLSHomes, MinneapolisHomes.com. Love to see you there. Love to hear from you. Please sign up for one of my market reports in the link below. And I hope to hear from you if there's anything I can do to help. Have a great day.